Hey friends, what's going on? This is another one with fun with Azure. This one is part 11 with Synapse Studio, and this is basically a continuation of our exploration on Power BI last time. So I think it's probably best. This video basically really continues where we left with part 10 in Synapse Studio last time. So if you're interested, this is the video here to have a look at. So let me head over and kind of show you what we have. So last time we did a bunch of reports, so basically one report that looked like this, right? And we had like a data set from a data lake, and it was like 3 records in here. And when we tried to visualize this as a grid, we were able to do this like here. And when we tried to do it as a pie chart, so I kind of headed over to this one, copy and pasted the same in, and try to change the type over here, then to a pie chart, right? Then it didn't work no more, and we didn't actually see data. And I already was telling you that this is due to the fact that basically the revenue is indicated as a varchar data type or text data type, where it should be definitely should be a numeric data type to be able to visualize this. So the data types weren't optimized. That's why we had this issue, right? So I want to show you how I fixed this, because now I generate a couple of other reports where I definitely was able to do this. Obviously, there's different approaches you can take. You can actually convert this also in Power BI. That's not what I did. I converted it in the data layer in the backend, right? So, and I'm going to show you how. And also want to show you here how this looks like in Power BI once it's fixed. But I'm actually going to go through the whole process so that you have an end-to-end view. So this is the old report that didn't work, right? So just how it looks very similar in Power BI. This is actually the new report. And this is just a working piece of it, right? So let's head back into the data side, and let's bring up real quick from the data side what's needed. And let me open up a new Synapse Studio to make sure that I'm not browsing away from here. That makes it a bit easier later to show you that. So what I want to bring up here now is the development section, I think. And let me go there, development. And like I showed in part in the last part, I think it was 11, right? No, it was 10. This is 11. The obviously you need to have data, right? So we brought in the data into the lake, and then we can use this data in a database which is here somewhere. And PBI reporting. I always keep forgetting what database I'm using, so let me have a quick look. So this is empty. This is also good for you to kind of see what we can do. Okay, so here's the table that I'm using, and let me run this real quick, then I can show you how this looks like. And while this is executing, now it's executing, there's also views in that table over here that we need to have a look at. So this is basically the table, right? And we see here there's an ID, there's a city, there's a revenue column, and when I expand this here in the viewer and hit on columns, then you can actually see this is all NVARCars, right? So initially it's all NVARCars. So we still have to take care of our data types, and initially I didn't. So now I did. And you can see there's an additional column, revenue int or ref int, and this is an int of a type int, right? So now we have basically a view called PBI test 1 with that additional column. So if I query that one, it would obviously show up here. There's another query that I have over here. Actually, it's not in that section, I think. Is it in data? Or is it? I think it's in develop. Let me go over here to develop, and then let me go here. And here you can kind of see the code for this query, right? For the PPI test view, I should say, right? So I'm using the my data table that we just looked at, and I'm filtering everything in ID where it's not ID. Remember, we have that duplicate there, and then over here is where I actually cast the revenue to an int, and I call it ref int, right? This is exactly what I showed you earlier, and then I get this data set, right? So, and when I go back, when I go back from here, then these are the views, right? So what I basically need to do now, instead of last time where we used the view without the integer type, now I'm going to use that when I generate the data set, and that way we're going to be able to see this. So let me go back again to the reports, which is, I believe, here. Yeah. And you can see now that we're working in data in different areas. It's quite a bit jumping back and forth between those hubs. That's kind of interesting. So let me go here, and let me minimize this a bit to make it easier. So we're still in that workspace 5, and now let me also play a little bit with this here. So this is basically on that level here. This is a workspace, and remember, this is mapped to a workspace in Power BI, right? So all of these, and inside here, those are data sets, right? So we already have 2 data sets out there, right? And I can basically reuse them, right? So if I do action refresh, okay, this is that. So then the question is, so there's a new Power BI data set. The question is how I'm going to generate a new report. Let me go here, non-business, integrate. Yeah, this is sometimes fun here to work in that environment. So let me go here. So if I hit those, I see open, and those are reports. This is a data set. I see the data sets, and then here I have a new report, right? So not too intuitive, to be honest, right? So this hierarchy is, this is the workspace, then here I have basically the data set. Now, obviously, a data set can be the source for multiple reports, right? So these data sets are listed here, right? I have 2 data sets, and you can actually see those in Power BI. So when I, PPI test 345, I believe it's 6 here. So if I head over and I go into my workspace, these red icons here, those are actually data sets, right? So I don't want to duplicate those because I already deployed this before. I could duplicate them, but for what purpose, right? So let me go in here and hit that new report, because I don't want to delete the data set. Okay, so let me hit new report, and that does exactly what I expected it to do. See, and now, because I told it to go against revenue, basically that view test 1, now I can reuse this quite easily and use that column with city, and I have my first chart, right? So this is definitely cool. And then let me copy this. Let me move that aside. There's a control that I kind of like for testing purposes. It's called the slicer. And I always need to look for it a bit till I find it. Multi-card row. There's actually quite some really nice controls here that, on its own, this could be, a longer session to even play with this one. Scorecard, smart initiative, Q&A. I mean, there is quite a bit to it. There's a card, multi-row card, tree map. Okay, the composition tree. Don't seem to find the slicer now. Where did it hide? Scorecard, somewhere hidden. Automate, access. Maybe I find it later. But what we also can do is we just use a pie chart, and this is actually another really interesting capability here. It's it's context sensitive, right? So we can select one here, and obviously it filters the other one. It highlights it in that sense, right? It doesn't really filter them, but that's pretty much that piece there. So I'm just looking a bit over these here and see if I can find anything. Decomposition tree, paginated report, scorecard, and so forth, right? So lots of visuals to select, and we have that. And now that I did that, I can do a save as, and then ask me for the name, my shiny report. Okay, and I save it, and now it's saved. And so basically now we have that. And obviously if I go over here, the amount of sources didn't change. Sorry, data sets didn't change, but obviously there's a new report now, right? And that's exactly the one that we just did, right? So great stuff. And let me go back one more time here just to make sure. I think I did show you the underlying query that was needed for this, that I applied to that my data set, but want to make sure that I have it included, because here in the views you can actually not see the original code for the views, which in my opinion is something that needs to be fixed, right? So but when I go here to I think develop, let me see here, SQL database, yeah, I think it should be developed, and then I have a view here. This is basically the view that PPI test 1, right, which converts the revenue to an int, and it filters. So when I query this gives me that clean data set that we're basically seen in Power BI, and easily can be queried with that one. Okay, so that is that piece, and just wanted to kind of provide this now, as we already looked at a while ago. All these activities that I just initiated, they are actually being tracked here, and this is already what we looked at when it came to automation and stuff, but we can definitely see the queries being submitted here initially, and then you can even hit this more button. Now one important thing here is we're querying with here with import, right? So the data is basically moved to Synapse. We're not doing this with direct query. So what I'd like to start, at least, and we may not be able to finish this time, but when I go here and let me do a new Power BI data set. Remember, last time we did add a report to an existing data set, right? So now I do a new data set. I select the same file again, right? The same like database. I open this one, and then let's play with this a bit further to see where we end up with. Now this time, what I want to check out here is basically a direct query connectivity, because eventually I think the charm with Power BI and serverless is direct query, right? So we query the lake database, or the Delta Lake or data lake, to get this data, and we're not consuming the middle layer, so to speak, or data stored in dedicated pools or stuff like this. So I'm selecting the PPI test. I say load. I wonder when the direct query choice comes right here. Okay, so the last two times actually, you didn't see me when I generated the second data set or data source, right? Let me go back and just making sure, because that's an important thing that I'm talking about. You didn't see me generating that second one here. You saw me generating that first one in the first video, and I don't want to browse away from this. That's why the color is so weak here. But let me go back to that other piece. Where is it? I think it's here. Okay, and then direct query. I say okay. Okay, so this is doing his stuff. Working on it, and see here, this is actually pretty good. We see the data coming in. So let me move this over. Let me move that in. Okay. So it shows us visuals. This is dandy, definitely dandy. What we have here. Here we get more visuals. Then I'm looking at what I can do here in terms of an additional. Oh, finally I found the slicer. Look at that. So let me do that, because sometimes it's kind of fun to have that slicer also part of this. So let me do here, put that there. Where did I find it? It's here. And it's basically just like, it helps me to select, right? And it's not just single select. You can, when you push down your control, can actually do multi-select. Now with 3 of them, it's kind of pointless, right? But it basically acts like a filter. But I still, like it to just play around with stuff. And then let's do this one here, like a pie chart. And then we have some interactivity on the visuals. And we can also keep in mind now, because we're doing direct query, this actually sends queries pretty much every time back to the actual service. So what I want to do now is I go File, I go Publish to Power BI, and obviously I need one more change, sensitivity level. Okay, I do public. We need to talk about this in more detail, but just for now, and then we do publish, save the change, and then let's call this test PPI. Let me call it 1 or 2, and you're probably better off not picking up my bad naming convention, just by the way. But I just don't want to spend much time on this, even though it's really important, and I'm fully aware of a good naming convention. So don't shortcut that decision. So 011, how can I pick this one up? Hope I can copy and paste. Yeah, let's see. Let me go back. Where was that? It was here, right? So now I basically want to search for it. Okay, which is cool. So I select it. I'm doing it now. This should actually deploy now a new data source. Remember, right? We're basically deploying a new data source. I got a success. Let me see if that works right away, and I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. But let's just check it out and go from there. Loading the report, and we see some credentials missing, and this is kind of expected. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna close this video. So, and then I'm gonna look into that, and I already have a hunch, but I'm gonna spend some time on this, clean this all up, and then in our next video we're gonna continue with this, because we did basically the same thing as we did for the import, but there is some nuance when it comes to the direct query, and we're gonna deal with this next time, right? But so much for that. So hope that was helpful. Leave me a comment, leave me a like if you liked it, and let's talk next time. Thank you.